Hello, welcome. I'm Tom Copeland. I'm an attorney, author, trainer, advocate for the business side of family childcare. In this video, we're going to talk about what are the two most important terms to include in your contract. Well, we start with what is a contract. It's a legally enforceable agreement between two parties, you and the parents. Those legally enforceable terms include the hours of your operation and the fees that you charge. These are the things that you could enforce in court if you had to. So, hours of operation, when are you open? When are you open or closed for holidays, vacations, sick time? When are you open? Fees, all the fees that you charge. Registration fee, weekly fee, monthly fee, part-time fee, overnight fee, supply fee, field trip fee. You're giving me a headache fee. It's all included in your contract, and these things are enforceable in court. In addition to the hours of operation and your fees, a basic contract would also include, obviously, the names of all the parties. Your name, parents' name, names of the children. Who is this agreement with? Termination procedure. How will a contract end? Typically, parents are required to give at least a 2-week notice. I recommend that you just say that you can terminate at will. Also, you need signatures. Without signatures, you don't have a written contract. You want the parent to sign it first, then you sign it. Then give the parents a copy of the contract. Now you're set. You are free to set your own rules regarding your hours of operation and fees. I'm not going to tell you when to be open or what to charge. That's totally up to you. In addition, you can set your own policies. Policies are everything that's not a contract. So, rules about curriculum, daily activities, your illness or health policy, transportation rules, and so on. Now, your state child care licensing rules may or may not require you to include some specific terms in your contract or policies. But don't hesitate to set your own rules in your contract and policies to meet your own needs. This is probably one of the most important messages that I can share about this. It's your business. You're the boss. Your contract does not have to be the same as somebody else's. Your policies can be very different. It's what you want. So take the time to think it through and put down what will meet your own needs. Now, I just said you can essentially do whatever you want. Now I'm going to tell you how I strongly recommend that you include these two terms in your contract. Why? Because over many, many years, I continue to hear from providers who say, a parent left owing me money. And that's a problem. So the solution is to add these two terms. First, client will pay at least a week in advance. Second, client will pay in advance for the last 2 weeks of care. Let's look at this. Client will pay at least a week in advance. At least. It could be longer if you want. But in my opinion, you never want to provide care until it's already been paid for. Why? You have expenses. Monday morning, you're serving food. You're paying for supplies throughout the week. You don't want to wait to get paid. Now, the day that the parent pays you doesn't matter. Monday, Friday, fine. If they're going to pay you Monday morning for that coming week, okay. Not Monday afternoon. Or if they're going to pay you on Friday for the next week, fine. Now, how would you transition to this if you're not doing this already? You'd say to the parent, I'm giving you some notice here, 1 month, 2 months, and maybe you're normally paying me on Friday for the previous week. Well, starting a month, 2 months from now, you're still going to pay me on Friday, but now I want an extra week payment once. So if you normally pay me $180 a week, I want $360 a week on one Friday a month or two in the future. And then they'll continue to pay you on Friday. Don't change the day of the week that a parent is going to pay you. But they're only paying you double for 1 week, and then they go back to paying you the $180 or whatever they're paying you in subsequent weeks. If the parent can't afford to pay you twice, double, 1 week in the future, then okay, how much extra, parent, can you afford to pay me? 20 bucks a week, 15, 10, 5? There's no private pay parent who couldn't afford to pay you a little bit extra each week until you got paid for that extra week. Second term, client will pay in advance for the last 2 weeks. Okay, this is the most common problem where parents are leaving. They're supposed to give you a 2-week notice. They're supposed to pay you for the last 2 weeks, but they don't. They're gone. Now what? Oh, it's hard. It's a pain in the neck to try to go after the parent and collect. We want that money in advance. So, I don't know, you're being paid $180 a week. I want $360 a week now. At enrollment, at your anniversary, starting 2 months from now, whatever you want. You could implement these policies, these new changes in your contract, only for new parents if you want. If they're paying you, let's say, $360 for the last 2 weeks, and they leave a year from now, year and a half from now, that $360 will pay for their last 2 weeks, even if your rates are higher down the road. Parents can't afford to pay you that $360 now. You can ask them to pay you a little bit extra per week until you finally get it in your hands. Again, it's reasonable. Now, if you've been paid in advance for the last 2 weeks, but for whatever reason you want to terminate the parent before the end of those 2 weeks, you need to give the money back, right? You can't keep money that you're refusing to provide care for. That just makes sense. These two contract rules, as I've said, are reasonable. Any private pay parent can afford to pay you a little bit extra if you spread it out far enough. In my opinion, if you have these two rules, it will make it easier for you to enforce all your other rules. Not having to worry about a parent leaving. Oh, if I put my foot down, if I say this, oh, I'm afraid I'm going to, insult the parent, or the parent's going to, hey, I've already been paid for those 2 weeks, so I think your stress level should go down about this. Now, you can set your own rules. You can put whatever you want in your contract. You can put essentially whatever you want in your policies. But now you're responsible for enforcing them. So, you can enforce your rules, you can renegotiate them because they're your rules, or you can ignore them. But if you're deciding not to enforce a rule, you should take it out of your contract or policies. Having a rule that you don't enforce is worse than just not having the rule to begin with. You should not hesitate to enforce your rules. You decided it's a rule. If you don't think it's an important enough rule, you should take it out. So, you need to enforce it. How are you going to enforce it? To enforce any rule, whether it's a policy or a contract term, you got to have a consequence. So, consequence can be money. Parent, if you don't pay me in advance, there's going to be a late payment fee. Or, parent, if you don't pay for these last 2 weeks in advance, I'm going to terminate the contract. I'm just not going to deal with you. I don't want to take this risk that I'm not going to get paid. Money or ending the contract. That's really how you enforce your rules. That's what I want to say. You're responsible for setting your own rules. Focus on what you want. I strongly encourage you to have the parents pay you at least a week in advance and the last 2 weeks in advance. Consistently enforce your rules. Having a rule that you're not enforcing doesn't make sense. Parents are more likely to follow your rules if you're consistent about it. Parents are very unlikely to want to leave your program just because you're enforcing your own rules that they've already agreed to. So good luck. If you have questions about this after listening to this video, feel free to contact me with your questions. Here's my email address. I don't charge anything for answering questions. Your question might be answered on my website, tomcopelandblog.com, where I posted hundreds of articles on contracts and policies. Good luck about this. Now, I'm not providing legal, tax, or other professional advice as part of this video. You need to seek that out if you want. This document was funded by the Child Care Communications Management Center, which is funded by the Office of Child Care, the Administration for Children and Families, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and was developed in partnership with the National Center on Early Childhood Quality Assurance, which is funded by the OCC, the Office of Head Start, ACF, and HHS. You can use this video, duplicate it, share it, as long as it's for non-commercial use. You can't sell it, and you don't need permission. So thanks very much for listening.